Welcome in, everyone. Ready to dive deep. This time, it's Genesis chapter 39. We're going to unpack the story of Yosef, a man who faced some serious curveballs, but his faith, rock solid.
Unshakable faith is what our source calls it. And yeah, I'm really interested to dig into that, especially because, well, this isn't exactly a triumphant start for Yosef, is it?
Right. Talk about a rough turn of events.
Yeah.
Chapter 37, Yosef's own brothers, they sell him into slavery. He goes from favored son to, bam, Egyptian slave, just like that.
Like a punch to the gut. I think everyone knows that feeling, when life takes that sudden turn and you're just completely thrown, it's universal. But it's in those moments, the ones where you don't know what's coming next, that's when you really see what a person's made of. And that's what makes Yosef so interesting.
Totally. And right off the bat, Genesis keeps saying God is with Yosef, even as a slave. It's repeated throughout the whole chapter.
It's almost like a reminder you can't miss. Like, hey, listen up. God's presence, it doesn't depend on your zip code or your circumstances.
Yeah. And it's not just like passively with him. Yosef, he thrives, he becomes wealthy. But get this, our source says that word, it's bigger than just money. It means like success on a whole other level.
It makes you think, doesn't it? Like, what does success even mean? Can you be successful even when you've lost everything you thought you had? Even when from the outside it looks like you're failing? To find purpose, maybe even joy in those circumstances? That's a powerful question.
And here's the thing, even Yosef's master, he sees it. He sees that Yosef's success, it's not just luck, not just skill. It's something, I don't know, different, almost supernatural.
Like Yosef's faith, it's just radiating out of him. It's touching everything he does, his work, the way he treats people. Even as a slave, he can't hide it. It's who he is.
And, well, then comes the real test, Potiphar's wife. She's got her eyes on Yosef, and let's just say she makes it pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Talk about pressure. He could have easily caved. I mean, he's a slave, right?
But he doesn't. He chooses to run. He chooses integrity. He chooses his faith over everything else. And that moment, the running away, it's more important than it seems. What does that tell us about Yosef?
It makes you think about those ripple effects, you know? That decision, that commitment to what's right. Even when it's hard, it seems small. But what if that choice, that one moment of integrity, what if it's part of what leads to his success later on? Like maybe it built his reputation, even with his captors. They saw he could be trusted.
It makes you wonder, right? We're always so focused on the big wins, the big moments. But Yosef's story, it shows how powerful those small, everyday choices can be. They shape us. They shape our future in ways we might not even realize.
It's like his integrity becomes this shield, even in the darkest situations. And then comes the ultimate betrayal. Potiphar's wife, she's furious. She makes up this lie about Yosef, and he ends up in prison.
And it just goes to show life isn't fair. You can be a good person, do everything right, and still get dealt a bad hand. You have to wonder, did Yosef ever doubt? Did he question why this was happening, if God was really with him? And what does that say about us? About how we deal with suffering, with injustice, and how faith fits into all of that?
It's wild, falsely accused, thrown in prison, and yet Yosef, he doesn't fall apart. You'd think bitterness would creep in, that despair. But no.
That's the thing about faith. Real faith, it runs deep. And remember how the text kept saying God was with Yosef? That's not a guarantee that everything will be easy. It doesn't come with an asterisk, Like God is with you, but only when things are going great.
It's easy to praise when life's good. It's a whole different ball game when you're facing something like this. And Yosef, he chooses faith.
And here's the thing. It's that unshakable faith, that trust in God. It becomes his superpower. Even in prison.
That's what gets me. It's not like, poof, his faith makes everything instantly better. He's still stuck in prison, right? But it's like his faith is a compass, showing him the way even when everything seems dark.
Exactly. He's choosing to live out his faith no matter what. He doesn't wait for his situation to change first. And that's a powerful message for all of us, isn't it?
We've all got our own prisons, right? Those times when you feel trapped, those challenges that threaten to steal your joy. And Yosef's story, it reminds us that faith, it can bloom even in those places.
It's like his faith, it changes the whole atmosphere. Remember, he earns the warden's trust, gains his favor. Think about that. He's in prison, surrounded by negativity, hardship, and still he makes a positive impact. Why do you think that is?
He had that integrity that we talked about earlier. Remember when he ran away from Potiphar's wife? It seemed small, but it established who he was, a man of his word. And that followed him, even to prison. People saw that, even there.
It shows us that the choices we make, even in secret, they matter. They shape us. And sometimes, those ripples, they go further than we could ever imagine.
It's true. Even in prison, God's favor is on Yosef. But what does that even mean for us? I mean, it's easy to talk about, but how do we actually see it day to day?
That's the question, right? I think it looks different for everyone. It's not about getting rich or never facing problems.
Yeah, Yosef's story definitely proves that.
Exactly. It's more about this inner strength you carry, the peace, the purpose that doesn't waver no matter what life throws at you. It's that feeling of being guided, supported by something bigger than yourself. Even when you make mistakes, you're not alone.
And for Yosef, that feeling, that awareness of God, it helped him thrive. Sure, his body was in prison, but his spirit, his faith, that was free. He didn't let his circumstances define him.
And that's what sets the stage for what's to come, because this isn't the end of Yosef's story. This is just the beginning.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Even in prison, Yosef's story is just getting started. We think of prison as the end, but for him, it's like a launch pad.
It's like the opposite of what you'd expect. But that's what makes this story so powerful. It messes with our ideas about success, about second chances, about how God even works in the world. We like things to be neat and tidy, hardship then triumph, but Yosef, he shows us God doesn't play by our rules.
We talk about faith like it's this private thing, something you keep inside. But Yosef, his faith, it's like it can't be contained. It affects everything he does, everyone he meets.
And people notice it, don't they? Potiphar, the warden, they see something different about him. Even in prison, he stands out. It makes you think, what if our faith was that obvious, that impossible to ignore, even when things are tough?
And I don't want to downplay what Yosef went through. Betrayal, slavery, lies. That's rough. It'd be so easy to just give up, become bitter.
Oh, absolutely. But we don't see that. Not in Yosef. No bitterness, no poor me. Just this incredible commitment to doing the right thing, to believing that even in this mess, God has a plan.
That's what sticks with me. We have a choice, even when everything seems dark. We can let our circumstances define us, or we can hold on to something bigger.
And that choice, choosing hope, choosing faith when it's hard, that changes things. Not just for us, but for everyone around us. Like ripples in a pond, you know? One small action spreading out, touching everything.
I like that. That's a beautiful way to think about it. The power of one person's faith.
That's what Yosef's story makes me want to do. Look at my own life, my own choices. It's not always going to be big and flashy, but even the small stuff, it can make a difference. It can bring hope.
So as we finish this deep dive into Genesis 39, that's the question I'm left with. What kind of impact are we having? Are we letting our faith shine through even when it's tough? Are we living in a way that shows people there's something more, something beyond ourselves, something that points to a God who's always working even when we can't see it? That's something worth thinking about. Until next time, keep searching, keep asking questions, keep the faith.